Hey, Zach Rody here. Um, this was actually last night that I was just scrolling through on the internet, just looking at fun things to read about with relationships, and I do that sometimes because I really want to see what what advice is really out there, right? What advice is out there for men and women? And okay, my all my stupid noises are going off all of a sudden. Got to mute everything. Yeah, and this is what I came with, right? This is what I came up with. This was the best quote of the evening when I was scrolling through. When you forget to text, when you'll be late, it makes me feel like you don't care. All right. And I just I cannot believe how much bad advice is out there. Like, it is outrageous. Like, it should, like, if there is anything that should be criminalized at this point, it is stupid people who are not even in successful relationships who are giving crappy advice and screwing up other people's lives, right? Or keeping them stuck. It's ridiculous. And what's worse, it's like not even people that are just like, they just have some blog, they're just some unknown person. We're talking about experts that are making hundreds of dollars an hour selling their crappy advice to other people, and like, it's not going to work. Like, it's not going to work. And these are probably, honestly, like, this one was a therapist, like a psychotherapist or something, who works with couples. Most of these people are probably single, first of all, or they're in robotic relationships that are emotionally dysfunctional as well. I actually know people, right? I actually know people who are therapists and in couples counseling and all this kind of stuff, and their relationships are dysfunctional, right? And they're giving this advice. Like, this is like a 500-pound man or woman teaching people how to be fit, and or like a little weakling, like a 100-pound weakling, teaching people how to be a bodybuilder. Like, it is a joke. It's a travesty. It honestly is. And like, it's just going to screw people up, because people, like, so many people are going to look at them and be like, oh my God, you have this degree and you went to school for 15 years. Yeah, I'm going to take your advice because my relationship sucks. And I obviously, like, have all these degrees, so you're going to know how to fix it. Uh, but no, it's not. Like, yes, two really emotionally healthy people can communicate this way and make a relationship barely functional. That is true. That's true. I'm not going to deny that. But first of all, most people are not at that level of emotional health. And second of all, even if they were, it's still going to be a crappy relationship, right? And this is something that, okay, so women, for example, right? Women take this advice and then they express themselves in this way, and then what happens next? They're like, oh, my man didn't respond very well. I guess he doesn't care about my feelings. He's just a narcissist, right? He's just an asshole. And that's what they will think, because they took this crappy advice and don't understand men. They don't understand their man. They don't understand how saying something like this is actually disrespectful to a man. And it's not being responsible for your feelings in any way. And then the man responds badly and they wonder why, right? And so then they get stonewalled, or they, like, the man's just dismissive. He's like kind of shutting down. He is just kind of brushing off, or like, you shouldn't feel that way, or, all kinds of things that a man might say to that, right? But the gist is he's going to kind of be pushed away, right? He's just not going to want to communicate. He's not going to want to deal with that. I wouldn't be like, that's nice. I'm not responsible for that. I'm like, and for if it's a man that's expressing that way to a woman, oh, it's like, okay, well, I have a girlfriend now. And if that's the way that a man's going to be communicating to his woman over and over, well, she's probably going to be looking for a new man, unless she's a lesbian. Because that's just not how men and women should be interacting with each other. That doesn't create polarity, and it's also not responsible communication. So it's a complete joke on both fronts, right? And so, men, so on the man's side, right, if a man's wondering like, oh, like she just doesn't respect me, and she's like, controlling, and doesn't really respect what I ask her to do, or sorry, like, not ask her to do, but direct her to do, that's what a man's going to be thinking, right? And it's like, oh God, oh, it's just so terrible. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating because it's all unnecessary. It's all unnecessary. These problems should not be happening in relationships at all, right? And this therapist also said like, oh yeah, like conflicts are totally normal in relationships. Like all couples are going to be getting into conflicts, sometimes, and that's healthy. No, it's not. And no, that's not true. Conflicts are not normal. Like, yes, most couples do get into conflicts, but that's not something that should be happening, and that's not something that needs to happen. Conflicts don't need to happen. In in an actual healthy relationship, conflicts do not happen at all. There would be no need for them to happen. There'd be no need for conflicts to happen. There would be no yelling. There would be no raising voices. There would be no immature talking. There would be no, well, you made me feel this way. There'd be none of that crap. Okay, there'd be none of that crap. That if that's something that you've dealt with, that doesn't have to happen. And if you're still in the mindset of, well, it's because of my partner, right? Like I tried expressing my feelings, and like you may, when you forget to text me, you'll be late. It makes me feel like you don't care. Like if that's how you're communicating, well, okay, that's your problem. That's your responsibility, because you're not communicating in a responsible way, or in a way that your other partner, like your partner, is going to respond to, if he's whether it's a man or a woman. Okay. So you got to get your communication dialed in. That's really what it comes down to. You've got to get your communication right as a feminine woman or as a masculine man, because when you do, like, so first of all, when you get this communication really handled, because communication, everybody's like, oh, communication is the most important part of a healthy relationship. That's true. Yeah, that I could see that, except that the communication is so depolarized, or so irresponsible, with most advice, that everybody's kind of doing it wrong. Everyone's doing it completely wrong. But when you do get that right, when you really understand what communication is, and you use communication to actually polarize yourself and polarize your relationships, you don't have conflicts anymore, right? They're just not going to exist. You just will not have conflicts. There will be none. Okay. And like for a woman, you will just express your feelings, and a man's going to love hearing about them, right? He's going to love hearing everything that you have to say, and he's going to hold space for that, and he's going to want to hear, and he's probably going to want to do something about it if he can, right? And there won't be any of the stonewalling. There won't be any of the resistance. There won't be any of this shutting down. There won't be any being pushed away. There won't be any of that. And for a man communicating with a woman, it's just as simple as, you just communicate, and then a woman does what you wanted her to do, without any fuss, without any resistance, nothing like that. She just does it. She just trusts you that that's what you want, and respects you enough to do it. And it's so simple. And then what happens is that both man and woman get their needs fully met, and their needs and most of their wants as well, right? And that's what we like. If I were to like boil down anything that we talk about in our in my membership group, right, it is communication. It's like that. Our focus, our primary focus, is getting your communication from crap, like this therapist is giving out, where all you're going to get is conflicts and shutting down and lack of attraction and all this crap, this crappy relationship, and getting it to a point where communication is so easy, and your partner just is completely receptive to it, and wants to hear, and actually cares, and shows that they care, and just there's just no problems. There's just no problems, and your needs all get met, right? Your needs all get met. And but you've got to get the communication piece. You've got to. This is the most important part of all of this. And it's subtle, like it's subtle, and there's a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot of nuance to all of this communication. And but once you get it right, like once you really, like, this is what we do, is we really get people into that switch where they're feeling like, oh, this is what it feels like to be masculine and how to communicate in a masculine way, or this is what it feels like to be feminine and just, you know, communicate in a feminine way, not trying to get any outcome. And once you're really feeling that, once you've really gotten that, then the switch can happen really, really quick. Right? And that's what we help with, because and you know, sometimes it's really quick. Sometimes it's honestly days that you know, a man or woman joins our group and it's like, okay, now it all makes sense. Now it all makes sense, and I can feel the difference, and I can see my partner responding in a completely different way. And why the hell were all these experts giving this terrible advice? Because obviously it doesn't work. Well, polarity does work because that's how men and women are programmed, right? This isn't some socially conditioned thing where like we can condition ourselves to, you know, talk in a very logical way about our feelings, right? And, you know, get in a big circle together and share them. This is instinctual. This is 100% instinctual. We are programmed this way, and it can't be unprogrammed. Okay, men and women are programmed radically differently. Radically differently. And what you'll find is when you get your communication right, once you get your communication right, this is the thing. It's not just about the communication. The communication itself is a gateway. All right. It's like, oh, how do I become more feminine? Or like, do I just like do more yoga and like, you know, just like dance more and put on a dress? And like, how do I become more masculine? Do I just like start bodybuilding and eating more meat? And you know, there's certainly some things there that can work to a tiny degree, but it's really like putting on band-aids to a much bigger issue. Getting your communication right kind of it pushes you into your natural polarity, and you can feel it, and you can feel how scary it is to do it as well, right? But once you do it, you will actually, once you really start focusing on the communication piece, you're going to start to become increasingly masculine if you're a man over time, because you're going to feel it more and more, because that communication is your gateway into your masculine pole, right? You just have to continue communicating in that way, and you'll become increasingly masculine. And the same with feminine, right? If you are communicating in the right way, you will increasingly polarize yourself into your feminine polarity. All you have to do is get your communication right. It will naturally happen. That's the gateway. That's how you know. So there's no more bullshitting. There's no more bullshitting about like, oh, I'm like so feminine, I'm a feminine goddess, blah, 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 or like I'm really masculine and whatever. You can't bullshit this, because either your partner is responsive to it, right? And you can feel the different energy in yourself and in your partner, or you don't. And if you don't, then you're not doing anything. You're wasting your time. You're not actually polarized in any way. So that's the outcome that we're really helping men and women with, is getting their communication dialed in so that they can polarize themselves and they can feel that polarization. And then that is what ends the conflict. That is what makes attraction skyrocket in your relationship. That's what makes your sex life just like, oh, how it was, you know, the first few months of dating, right? Because you're just naturally so attracted to each other again. That's how, you know, you can get to the point where you can express anything, right? Communication is just so easy and simple, and your partner's actually going to care and want to meet all of your needs and be joyful about it, because it's fun meeting other people's needs when there's no burden or obligation or you know, sense that you've been blamed or anything like that. When that doesn't exist and your partner's polarized and you're polarized, it's all natural, right? And so you get all of those outcomes. That's all natural outcome. And if you're single, that's the other thing. If you are single, you're like, oh, I don't have a relationship yet. I'll learn this stuff when I have a relationship. No, because good luck, first of all, getting in a relationship with someone that is, like a high quality person, right? Who's already been polarizing themselves. If you're totally depolarized and your language is depolarized, okay, you're going to find another depolarized person, or you're just going to be perpetually single because you can't really find anyone that's that interested in you, right? You start getting your communication dialed in right away, right from literally when you meet somebody, right? That's when you should be communicating in this polarized way, right? And that's what I did long before I even learned about polarity. That's what I learned to do, right? When I was meeting women, I didn't have a name for it, but that was essentially what I was doing, was using a lot of masculine communication and really polarizing my energy into my masculine, right? All the time when I was meeting women. And then it's the same for women, right? Like when a woman is really polarized in her feminine and using feminine communication, you know, dates and all those problems that women often have, right? Well, men and women, but this women have with like a man who's just not really texting much, not really initiating. He's, kind of being distant. He's not moving things forward. He's, what else would a man do? Not being very clear with what he wants, like for a date or whatever. All those problems disappear. You don't get those problems anymore. You don't have to play any of those stupid games anymore, and men don't have to play any of those stupid games either with women. Games are for children that don't know how to communicate as a man, like a masculine man or a feminine woman. And because they don't have that skill set, they either end up perpetually single or they learn how to play games. That's usually what ends up happening. Coming up with a time rule of like how long it should take before you text someone back or any of that crap, right? None of that happens anymore. And so it just fixes all of your dating problems just go away too. All right. So we don't just fix relationship problems in our membership group. We fix all of your dating problems as well. We do that by fixing your communication. Communication comes first. Energy naturally switches and polarizes. And then all of your external issues that you're experiencing, lack of attraction, low sex drive, lack of good communication, conflicts, all that crap, game playing, right? It all just disappears. So if you want that, right? If you want a much better experience that you're having in your love life, whether you're single, whether you're dating someone, whether you're in a serious relationship, whether you're married, whatever it is, go to relationshipyourdreams.com, get a membership so we can help get you these kind of outcomes. Learn from the videos. It'll all start to click, right? Start to implement it in your life and see just how easy and unbelievable these kind of outcomes are, right? Once you actually start doing the work and implementing this stuff, it can happen for you. It will happen for everybody that does the work and implements this stuff. Everybody. Why wouldn't it? I don't care what your mindset currently is. I don't care what your belief systems currently are, like your low self-worth, whatever. It'll fix all that stuff too, right? If you just stick with the work, you can go from having complete crap for self-worth and become a very high self-worth person if you can continue to do this work, right? That's possible too. Forget about all the ridiculous therapy that's going to take you decades if you ever figure it out at all. Just start with the communication. Start with the communication. Get into your right energy, into your polarized energy, and just watch all the changes naturally happen in your life. So relationshipyourdreams.com. Start there, get a membership, and start changing your life right now. That's it for today.